All right, guys, we are live. This is the UFC San Antonio recap show on the Sherdog Radio Network. We believe this is the most in-depth recap show on the planet. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan. My normal host, Mr. Ben Duffy, is doing his best Alex Perez impression and just said, F it, I'm out of here. Coming in twice this week, I keep trying to get rid of him, but he's like this crazy ex that just won't leave me alone, showing up at my house, like slashing my tires, calling me stupid and all that. Dev goes fishing. Dev,
Keith,
how you doing, brother?
I might check all those boxes besides calling you stupid. Crazy night, weird night, weight miss. Like what's going on? Like, what a weird card. This was a weird card.
All right, let's we'll get into a second. Shout out to all the guys in the chat, guys and gals in the chat. We just asked you guys to be respectful. A lot of the usuals in there. They're chatting up really good. We got a lot to cover. We only have 10 fights. Start this week we were at like 15 fights. End up with only 10. So I didn't get to do the preview show this week. So sometimes when I don't do a preview show, I do feel a little disconnected than I normally do. But here's the good thing about it is no one knows which fights I would have got wrong. So I get to bag on I get to bag on you and Ben. I got a couple fights that I disagree with a couple of your picks, but I'd say there's two of them that I was pretty passionate about that you guys were wrong.
This one,
the one that I was really passionate was the main event, Cory Sandhagen versus Marlon Vera. I was on Cory Sandhagen going into this. I didn't think it'd be this much of a dominant decision, even though it was a split decision. We'll get to that in a minute. But let's get right into it. Cory Sandhagen took on Marlon Vera, won all 25 minutes. Cory Sandhagen won the fight. I scored it 50-45, almost tossed in a 10-8 in the first round. I had Sandhagen dominate pretty much the entire fight. Agree, disagree? What do you say?
This fight really was like the end of the line for Chito's, low volume, high impact game. Where number one, I think we all can kind of admit he looked a little off. Like, if you could defend those takedowns with ease the way that you were later in the fight, like he wasn't even trying to defend them. He jumped guillotine in the second round. Like, he made some bad choices this fight. I don't know. And he's normally a guy that's, he's kind of got that young veteran Jorge Masvidal thing going where, like, if he's not getting hurt, he doesn't realize how bad he's losing. I think you're muted. I think you're muted still, Keith.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm getting attacked from all corners. I'm actually in a fantasy baseball draft going on with these flow drafts. My commissioner's texted me. I was trying to time it so it'd be done by now. And oh, Jesus. Anyways, that's how Marlon Vera felt. Like there's too much stuff going on at once. Sandhagen's. I was so impressed by what he did tonight. He you know what he reminded me of? Like the Bop It game. Yep. You ever play the Bop It game as a kid where it's like
just flick it, punch it, just so much different shit.
that was Sanhagen. It's like, okay, southpaw, then a jab, switch to orthodox, then a left hook, southpaw, inside kick, orthodox, outside kick, southpaw, outside kick, orthodox, flying knee, entry, back trip, knee up the middle. Like he just kept mixing up. There was no much different than we'll talk about Macy Barber, where it was like the same similar attacks. He was a lot of variety. And because of that, I understand that the narrative on Marlon Vera is that he's a slow starter and all this. But some it had to do is he was so confused that he could never get comfortable. Yeah. Right when he said, okay, this is what I want to do. I want to throw a kick to the body. Okay, I'm going to go back to the body. And before he could go back to the body, Sanhagen was switching stances, attacking on the other side. And he was always just trying to react that he never could get, like he could never get comfortable himself, almost like a guy like he was getting jumped, like there was like a gang fight, and and he's getting jumped into the Bloods and the Crips or something, and he's getting hit from all different angles. He doesn't know who to react to throw punches back, because now Sanhagen's on this side hitting him. This is what I'll say about Cory Sandhagen, and I watched the podcast this week, and shout out to my boy Jay Petrie, who he likes to joke, and he was saying how like I always like to live in the moment, and he likes to live in the moment a little bit, but not to the extreme I am. But I'll say this, and I like it. It's more fun that way.
I'm close to you on that. I live in the moment too, man. I will be quick to call someone the best in the world, or this is terrible.
It's good to like, like 2 weeks ago, I was saying the best bantamweight in the world looks like it's Merab Dvalishvili, and I still feel like that's probably the case.
Agreed.
But it could be Aljamain Sterling, it could be Henry Cejudo. That said, Cory Sandhagen just put on a performance where if he wins the champ title one day, I'm not surprised. It's not a surprise anymore. He showed that he has the ability to be best in the world. That's what I saw tonight. Agree or disagree?
From what I saw tonight, I feel like he's definitely turned a new leaf to where he's really mixing in his wrestling game. And I said it in the preview where I was like, he's going to shoot these takedowns, and Chito does get taken down. And his striking diversity, just like you said, gave him a lot of problems to where he shuffled the deck with every single striking transition, and even though those jump knees weren't landing, it just gives you something else to think about. And it's, there's plenty of fighters out there where they have their one thing that they're good at. It was just kind of like how Usman was so worried about that high kick to where, you're like, shit, Cory Sandhagen's thrown 3 jump knees on me already. Now this is something I have to be mindful of. And then it's just, throwing more. It's just shuffling the deck. And he was doing great. His stance switching. I do think and I typically love Jason Perillo, but he really should have lit a fire under Chito's ass in between that second and third round, because the way that Chito fought the last minute of this fight, clearly he could have probably done that way sooner. Yeah, he would have taken more risks, but Chito doesn't get hurt. And it was weird. I feel like he wasn't willing to take many risks in this fight, and he never was hurt.
I don't think he could. I think
there was just too much going on.
I think that last minute, I think Sanhagen turned down the heat a little bit, and that gave Vera the chance. But I think if he turned up the heat earlier, I think Sanhagen would just put him on his ass.
And just the counter grappling was really on point by Sanhagen too. And it was just another threat. And
Vera looked like he was getting shut down by the size. He was struggling with the size. He was struggling with how Sanhagen was just flowing so easily. You know what Sanhagen looked like? He looked like a guy punching mitts, where the coaches is just like, all right, we'll do some crazy combination, and he just mixed everything, and he's just flowing. Like, he never feels uncomfortable. Even when Vera would when Vera had moments, it was in the third round, Vera hit him with a good body shot, and he just simply switched to the southpaw, came with a left hook, and Vera was always trying to okay, now what do I do? I can't go to that kick now, because now he's got the elbow that side, and it just changed things. The size, I think, bothered him. And look how much time Vera spent, 1 on his back foot, 2 on the back foot in that perimeter, as I like to call the warning area. That's not Vera's game.
No,
Vera's game is in the middle, taking ground himself, kicking the legs, letting his hands go. And he never had that chance. Sanhagen was bigger than him. He was faster than him.
His speed was on point.
Yeah, you guys said something. I'm going to pick on you guys because when you don't make any picks, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm here to eat crow, man. I'm here to eat.
Yeah, I'm going to eat crow on one thing. There's one thing you guys said that I was like, all right, guys. When you asked who's the more dynamic striker and who had more tools, I was like, no way. It's Sanhagen. It's not even close.
And I think Chito didn't show it, though.
I think Vera's game. Well, hear me out. I think Vera's very good in a scope.
Yeah.
While he might be, if you were ranking their ability of things, he might have a higher grade in a subject, while Sanhagen's that A student all across the board.
Yeah.
Where Vera might be an A+ in one or two spots. Does that make sense?
No, I get what you're saying. Like, and Sanhagen, and what I meant by that statement, like Chito does have a really diverse kicking game, but that didn't show tonight.
Oh no, he couldn't.
And it was weird. Like, even there has to come to a point where even if the deck is being scrambled at you, you're the third-ranked bantamweight in the world. Your coach is Jason Perillo. They need to tell you, look, man, you are down 3 rounds at this point. You need to just go for it. Someone like Chito, that's as durable as he is, as powerful as he is. And I'm saying this because I am partially a Chito fan, and I hate to see his style come up so short in a fight like this, to where he just had no moments. Usually he has his moments, and he had no moments in this fight, and he didn't really ever. And I know he was confused. I know Cory Sandhagen was scrambling the deck. He was hitting him with so many different things, but you're an elite athlete. Like, sometimes you need to just bite down and go for it. And when you're 3.5, 4 rounds down and you're not getting really hurt in the fight, who cares if you get finished? Who cares if you get taken down? Like, go. He just never really went.
Yeah, one thing, a reason why I don't think he was able to kick as much, it felt a little bit like the Chitty fight, where Chitty wasn't throwing the kicks as much as he could because of the threat of the takedown. When you spend half of the first round on your back with Sanhagen dropping nice elbows the last, I don't know, minute of the fight, dropping elbows on your head, I think that really threatened it. You know, he didn't want to spend time, balancing on one foot fighting. So I think another thing that I think really surprised me was, if you told me Sanhagen would stand right in front of Marlon Vera for a majority of the fight, that really surprised me. Like, he's always so much flowing and moving, and his footwork is like usually his first defense, and that was not his first defense. It was cutting angles on the shots, and that was it was surprising to me. But also, it was like eye-opening too. Like,
no fear.
Wow, like
no fear, no respect for Chito's game. I loved it.
He was awesome. Never hurt. He was never hurt like one time. The balls to do it, but also the ability to do that and to flow where it's head movement more than it's footwork. It was so impressive to me. I was so impressed by Sanhagen tonight.
I love Sanhagen's jab, where it's almost like the Street Fighter video game jab, where he's pop, 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 changing so many levels with his jab. And then he does it out of both stance. He cuts an angle, hits you with a southpaw jab, cuts another angle, and then hits you with 2 jabs out of orthodox. And then all of a sudden he is clinching, maybe throwing a jump knee. He really shuffled the deck and scrambled the deck on Chito so fucking well tonight. And I think his shot wrestling is improving, and his top game, like, he looked punishing from on top. Like, Cory Sandhagen wants to hurt people now. And he's always wanted to hurt people, but with his grappling, like, he's really seemed to focus in on getting that takedown, getting control, landing ground and pound. Chito has a nasty guard. Like, he cut Sandhagen open really bad on top of the head with one elbow.
Yeah, we just went shot
first round with one shot. And still, like, Sanhagen wasn't deterred, still went for his takedowns, still got the ground and pound off. And then even when he got his takedowns defended, I love when fighters do this. When you can get a takedown, you can get a great entry and get defended, and where you're, a guy like me or you would think, man, that takedown just got defended. Why are they shooting again? Well, it's just part of their offense. Like, it's just something else to do. It's like what Merab did to Petrion. Like, you're just doing it.
One thing that was so impressive about Sanhagen tonight was the fact that you mentioned it. It was like one really good elbow cut him open in the first round, and that was his best shot. Think about this: Marlon Vera just fought Cory Sandhagen for 25 minutes, and his best shot was an elbow from on bottom.
2.5 minutes into the first round, and that's it.
You know what I mean?
Like,
it was so impressive to me, and I think about Sanhagen. Like, Sanhagen is that, like, you're out with your friends and you just order that appetizer sampler for the whole table. And everybody, if you like ground game, maybe you're that's the mozzarella sticks, and if you want footwork, okay, that's the buffalo wings. And if you want a jab game, that's
sliders, whatever
sliders or spinach dip or whatever.
Your Texas egg roll.
Yeah. it was so impressive. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching and I'm thinking of the guys in the division. And I'm sitting there, and of course, I'm not saying who's going to be because I mean, Aljamain Sterling beat him in a minute, and Henry Cejudo obviously has weapons, and Merab, and they all have weapons. But on the flip side, I also said he's a major threat to every single person in the division. There's not a single person in the division other than maybe Merab until you can show me you can stop 972 takedown attempts coming at you. But other than Merab,
yeah.
Like he is a serious like if something happened with Cejudo, and I know it's not going to happen because of he just fought 25 minutes, but say something happened with Cejudo and suddenly Aljamain Sterling, gets the call, hey, you're fighting Cory Sandhagen.
It ain't Merab. It's going to be Sanhagen. It's got to be.
Yeah.
Especially after
no. But I'm saying he gets the call. Like,
yeah.
And as a coach, you have more to game plan now against Sanhagen than you did against than Henry Cejudo.
Yeah, and I think pretty much, and it's so weird because for me, even after what I saw tonight, I still might favor Merab over maybe even over Sterling, just based off, the bantamweight. Pivoting to a social media post I saw today, it was like the top 10 ranked bantamweights, and it's like who has the best shot and best shot to be a title holder. Well, I mean, Umar Nurmagomedov is still looming out there somewhere.
Yeah,
he might be
16-0, something like
that. He may be the best bantamweight. Ricky Simone is out there. Adrian Yanez is about to fight. There's so many good bantamweights. I think it's the best division. But that would be a crazy fight for Aljo to have to take, just like you said, especially from the improvements we saw tonight. You would have to. Cory Sandhagen's game is so diverse, man. It's the most diverse game at bantamweight at this point.
Yeah, there's so many things we could talk about. I want to bring up real quick. I believe it was. Let me pull up real quick. Marcus Mustard said this was the best performance of Cory's career.
It was.
It's the most complete. I mean, that timing, that flying knee on Frankie Edgar's coming in I was still one of the holy Christ. That
spinning
that might stand out. That might
still
stand out. Yeah, that might still stand out. But this was one of those.
This means more. This means
a lot more. It means more. Yeah, it means more. It was incredible.
He's fucking good. That's what he showed everyone tonight. Anyone might, we thought that he was a pretty good fighter. I thought Cory Sandhagen was great, but tonight he proved to me that no, I'm fucking good. I just went out there and 50-45 Chito. That was my score. 50-45.
So I didn't. Yeah, same. I didn't do any tape study on this fight heading in because I didn't do the preview show. But when the first thing I thought of is I think you've heard me say this before, and other people on the preview probably heard me say this, is I always like to write the guy's name before tape study, this show I'm picking, and then see if my tape study changes my opinion.
Yeah.
And it does. I wrote down Sanhagen. And the first thing I thought of in my head was, I saw Marlon Vera. Yes, he knocked out Dominic Cruz. He was also losing up to that point. And he was struggling with the speed and the movement and all that. And I go, wait, you're giving me a better version of Dominic Cruz? You're giving me a younger, a bigger, a guy that has more weapons at this point. And I've never liked the comparison of Cruz and Sanhagen. I don't think it's that. I think it's the similarities, but I don't think it's the perfect comparison.
Especially today.
No, especially. Yeah. But I'm saying, you're giving me a younger, better version, upgraded version. Yeah. I felt very similar. Vera he better land a big shot.
And my theory behind it was, Chito has shown, and watching the tape study, I watched the Song Yadong fight, and I'm like, yeah, he won, but Song Yadong had a lot of moments where he hurt Sanhagen.
He did.
Petr Yan had a lot of moments where he hurt Sanhagen, and Petr Yan and Chito.
But those guys are good. Those guys are both really good.
They're great, and I mean, and I thought Chito was on that level. I was like, well, Chito makes his reads. He likes to hurt people. He has a similar-ish game to Petroyan as far as like a building style where he makes his reads, starts hurting people. And that's how Petroyan was fighting for a while there. So that was my read on the fight. I was like, well, no one's been able to hang out with Chito for 25 minutes. But the volume of offense, Chito just never got to have his moments, which is weird because Sanhagen has been hurt in his fights. He's durable, but he's not unflappable. And tonight he looked like he had no fear either. Like he wasn't worried about any heat that was coming back from Chito, which is huge. A guy that does get their bell rung in fights to still not fear someone like Chito, like that means a lot mentally.
And let's not forget the Song Yadong beat Marlon Vera. Now I know there's a lot of people debate that. A lot of people debate. I mean, regardless of how you stand on that decision, it could have went either way. Like that's
very close fight.
And I mean, it was up a weight class too, and I think it was thrown together last minute. There was some weird thing. I don't remember. It's going back a while ago too. So and Chito's much better fighter since then. Let's do it real quick because it seems like everything the chat wants to talk about. We would be talking right from the start if another judge agreed with this guy, but one of the judges scored the fight 48-47 for Marlon Vera. When they started saying, here are the scorecards, and Bruce Buffer was doing it kind of quick. I thought he was going to say so-and-so judge scores at 48-47 Sanhagen, and then the other one's 50-45 or something like that. And I'm like, damn, that's a weird one. Like I didn't expect anything. I did not expect a split decision the way he was kind of. And it might have been something to do with commercials. It might have been something like that where it seemed like he really rushed it out. Didn't have that big pause like he normally does. I can't believe that. I can't believe that is one of the worst scorecards. And I don't throw the word robbery. Like I never do. I never throw the word robbery on. I can see arguments from judges. We'll get into some other debatable ones. And I know a lot of people like to say, oh, that was a robbery. This was robbery. That I don't do that. Like I try to find arguments for different scorecards. Given 3 rounds to Marlon Vera, he didn't win 3 minutes tonight.
I mean, like maybe you could. So here's the thing: is maybe you could be tricked into scoring the 3rd round for Chito because he got dominated so badly in the first 2, and then he got a closer round. I could see that because like I was almost there. I was like, did Chito win that 3rd round?
He didn't get
out wrestled.
Yeah, that's the you get in when you have a big favorite going against a guy and the rounds are close and people start giving it to the other guy because they expected him to get blown away.
Yeah,
like I always throw this challenge out to anybody who says that Alexander Gustafsson beat John Jones the first time. Like, okay, we'll rewatch it now, and you tell me which 3 rounds Alexander Gustafsson won, and you can't. You're lucky to find 2.
But for that mentality to go on for 2 more rounds after that, because there's no way you gave him the first any of the first 2. You had to have scored 3, 4, and 5 for him. If you came to 48-47 and you have a round and you scored round 1 or 2 for Chito, like you need to be fired and sent to hell's basement.
Yeah, and other recap shows, ones that have come out Monday, Tuesday, even Sunday, they'll have an advantage. They might see a judge's scorecard. They kind of get the break. We don't get that. We do it immediately after, so we don't get a lot of the information. We don't get the post-fight interviews and all that stuff, the press conference and all that. So I don't know exactly which rounds, but like I was trying to think, and I was like, okay, exactly what you said. Like 3rd round, he had a couple exchanges. He definitely hits harder than Sanhagen. So like, okay, maybe so there's 1 round, the 3rd, maybe the 5th round. If he's really like that flurry at the very end, you give it to him, even though he got beat up for about 4.5 minutes before that. Then I'm like, what is the 3rd other round you would give him? And I go, did he give him the 1st round when he was on his back and beat the hell out because he landed the elbow and he was in. But I'm like, there's no way a judge could watch Cory Sandhagen on top of Marlon Vera bashing his head in for 3 minutes of the 1st round and give Chito because of 1 cut on the top of the head.
Well, yeah, especially like, if you take a box cutter and you slice someone's face, like, yeah, that's a pretty mortal wound. Or if you hit him in the head with a hammer a couple times, like, yeah, maybe the box cutter is going to bleed like crazy. Yeah. But like you just got hit in the head 3 times with the hammer. Like, yeah, and that's kind of what happened in the 1st round.
It's what we were talking about. I forgot which fight we were talking about. There was a fight, I think it was last week's card. I don't remember which one, but I was talking about body damage versus
the Gaethje Fiziev fight, probably.
Oh, Gaethje Fiziev. Yeah. It really comes down to because, and that's not the perfect example, but Gaethje was doing a lot of damage to the face, while Fiziev was going to the body, and at the end, you don't see the body damage.
Yeah.
But tomorrow, the next day, Justin Gaethje's ribs, he probably can't sleep.
Piss and blood.
So, that could have been a little bit, but that is one of the worst scorecards. And the Texas has that reputation. They have the reputation, have the worst judges and all this. But like we need a press conference where you stick a judge in front and he's got to explain.
I mean, this judge may get stoned if he were to do something like that in front of a group of people. Like you see like the old plays where they would throw rotten fruit and whatever at him. Like, I mean, that was such a bad scorecard. You should be held accountable for that. I work in a financial world, and if I were to just transfer $20,000 from one person's account to another account, and oopsies, I just made a mistake like that, I would get into a lot of fucking trouble if I did something like that. You're a police officer. Imagine, wrongfully doing something to somebody or just making a really bad mistake. And then oopsies, like, because that's what happens to these judges.
Yeah.
Like, they can fucking botch it and then just, oops, sorry.
Thank God there was
no recourse.
Thank God there was two judges that actually knew what they were doing, because God, I couldn't imagine right now if it was another. Let me ask you this question. There was, I don't know, the arena, I don't know how many people there, but just say 15,000, just hypothetically. Of 15,000 people drinking, people being from Ecuador, people with rooting for Marlon Vera. How many people, honestly, do you think scored the fight for Marlon Vera in that arena?
If there was 15,000 people in that arena, probably 15,001 people scored it for Sanhagen.
no, 14,099, right?
No, one more person, some random person from outside.
The janitor.
Someone watching from this far away with binoculars would have still scored that fight for Sanhagen. Like that. That's just so. I mean, there has to be recourse for your actions when you do stuff like this. Like there has to be recourse. Like you just. I mean.
Yeah, it's. I mean, was that James Krause's scorecard? Like, what was going on there? Shout out to Charlie. I can't tell it. Elbling. He mentioned the red wedding. You know what that would be like? And some of you guys won't understand this reference, but the Game of Thrones fans will. That'd be like watching the red wedding and then scoring it 10-9 for the Stark family. like Dev, I know you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about.
No, I don't. That's
but most people. I don't want to spoil it for people because even though that happened years ago, I know some people do watch Game of Thrones. That's what. And shame on you. When you're done with The Wire, go watch Game of Thrones.
See, I could get onto The Wire, but I watched the first 2 episodes of Game of Thrones and I checked out, man.
Yeah, they didn't get started. They didn't get started.
Maybe I'll start at like episode 4 or 5 when they're just in there with some action.
No, it's an incredible TV show. The ending this last season isn't that good, but before that, it was the most excited I was heading into the last season. I've never been more excited to watch a TV show than Game of Thrones is fantastic.
Really? Wow.
And I'm not a like sci-fi. That's not me. I hate the Marvel movies. I think they're garbage and shit. Anyways, I don't want to get too far off track. Cory Sandhagen called out Merab's vouchability, which is to me, how do you watch what Merab does and call him out? That's the balls. Sandhagen. We talked about a couple weeks ago. We were like, me and Ben were talking about Merab's performance and say, who picks up the phone to fight Merab when you call? And you're like, a lot of people are gonna find excuses. And we're like, oh, Marlon Vera would. Like, yeah, because Marlon Vera is crazy, but no one else would. Well, apparently Cory Sandhagen would. Like, we picked the wrong person to that main event that would say yes. Not only was he saying yes, he called for him to fight. No, his call out was really terrible, like stupid.
Yeah, well.
It was really bad. It was like when my son comes up to me, my 8-year-old son comes up to me to tell me a joke, and it's like, no, Robbie, no. But I'm not doing that matchup.
Really?
No, because I this is me being ultimate supreme of the UFC.
Yeah,
I'm the ultimate supreme. Nobody can say no. Okay, I'm the emperor of the world. I'm Alexander the Great. I'm saying again, and I want to say this one more time. This is not what the UFC is going to do. This is Keith Shillan is the rule of the world. Nobody else can say otherwise. Marab's fighting the winner of Henry Cejudo versus Aljamain Sterling. This is a fantastic story either way. It's either I avenge my teammate taking on Henry Cejudo, and Henry's the Olympic gold medalist. He's supposed to be the more credentialed wrestler. Look what I do. Or Aljamain, I've been in your shadow for all these years. You know, I've done this storyline a bunch of times. You know where it's going. Like,
oh man, yeah. I feel like this is the one where I feel like that will not happen. Like, I just don't. I would love it, but this is one where I'm so confident that it won't happen. But I was also confident in my Cheeto pick. So what the hell do I know?
So this is the guy I would match him with. The guy he should have called out. He should have called out Sean O'Malley.
Yeah.
Like, he's the bigger name. He's the better stylistic matchup. And you don't look like a wimp because he's high ranked. It's like, that's what he should have called out.
Bigger
and it's a fun stylistic matchup. It really is.
The only guy that may be a little bit taller and a little bit longer than him. I would say Sean O'Malley probably hits harder than Sanhagen, but Sanhagen's got so many. Sanhagen's got so many tools, and that'd be a great fight because Sean O'Malley did show us how tough he was in the Petrion fight, whether you thought he won or lost.
That
was a ballsy fucking fight.
You heard me on the recap. Regardless of how you scored that fight, Sean O'Malley proved to everybody that he's an elite of the division.
Great fight. Make it a main event, or make it a 5-round co-main event on a big pay-per-view card, like, under John Jones or some shit, I like that fight. I just went with Merab because, you call out Merab, no one's calling to fight Merab. Like, how far do you have to go down? Like, how far do you have to go down the bantamweight rankings before someone agrees to Merab? Only because they know, hey, I got a 30% chance to win this fight, but I'll be the number one ranked contender in the world if I fucking do. Like, how far do you have to go down?
I don't know.
Like, I'll take it. Like, the risk reward factor has to be so. Sanhagen wants it, and he's going to be ranked number 3 next week on Tuesday. So, like, he doesn't even.
I don't know.
Fight. Like a win over Chito, like, you can kind of just probably kick back and get a title shot. You could say, I want to weigh in.
Not in that division. Not in that division. That thing is log jam. Other division, I'd say yes. Light heavyweight, you're number one contender. But in that division, it is log jam. So because of the log jam, Marlon Vera is very hard to match up. It's easy to match him up because the division is so stacked. Like, I don't mean like it's not hard to make a good, this is fun stylistic matchup that'll be action. That's what I mean. I just mean it's like it's hard for him to be matched up because to get back to the title, there's so many guys right now. You have Cejudo, you have Merab, you have O'Malley, you have Sanhagen. All 4 of these guys. There's your pecking order calling the guys for a title shot. So I kind of have 2 avenues, and I'm okay with either one.
Okay.
One avenue is, we bury one guy gets back in the title picture, one guy gets absolutely buried. And you put Marlon Vera versus Petrion. The winner is right back in the title picture. The loser, buried.
Yeah.
Or you go the opposite and you say, Marlon, you kind of was always the guy. You got your chance. It's your turn to be the name to give somebody else. The guy that Marlon's rise up the rankings he was never that shiny toy. He was that overachieving guy who kept winning. Kind of how I view Jonathan Martinez. It's like, wait, when are we gonna stop believing in this guy? He keeps winning. So that's what I would do with Marlon Vera. Like one of those guys, Jan or Martinez, whichever way you want to do it.
I like the Jan fight. Jan really needs a win at this point. So I wouldn't mind if he even fought pretty far back in the rankings just to get a win. But I went with, if Adrian Yanez does beat Rob Font, I think Adrian Yanez and Chito Vera would make a great fight. That could be, if he beats Rob Font, put that as a main event, just like tonight on a Apex show, one of the smaller Apex cards. I think that'd be a great main event.
Do it back in Texas. Do it back in Texas.
Yeah, that's where Adrian's from.
In Marlon Vera, man,
they love him there. They seem to embrace the hell out of him.
Oh,
yeah. And then the other person I went with was a pretty far step back in the rankings, but a guy that I do feel like is improved a lot and deserves a big fight is Ricky Simone.
Yeah, that's how deep this division is.
He's good.
You start forgetting about guys.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
It's the best. Can we just agree that it's the best division in the sport right now?
So Technical Walter is giving me shit because I said put it back in Texas. Yes, there'd be crappy judging. To me, that's a little bit of excitement. Like when I already typed in, so I type in the bottom ticker people see going across the screen, and I typed in Sanhagen over Marlon Vera. I typed it in the bottom.
Decision.
I put unanimous decision. That I had to change it to split decision. But like when they announced Marlon Vera got a scorecard, I get excited for a second. Like not excited. Like I was hoping they'd get it wrong, but just like, whoa, like I got to pay attention for a second. This isn't a done deal.
I was getting up to go take a piss. I'm like, this is a 50-45. I know the score here. I'm going to go take a piss really quick before we get on here. And I'm walking back down my hallway, and I'm halfway down the hallway back into my living room, and I hear 48-47, Marlon Chito. I'm like, what? Yeah, man. There needs to be recourse for that. Like, you can't just get away with that, right?
Yeah, but on the flip side, like people saying like UFC don't go to like UFC can't ignore that market. Yeah, I mean, you're talking if
LFA's down there.
Yeah, but not even just that. Just the two biggest markets. Oh, well, three biggest is you got obviously the Vegas, the whole fight capital of the world. You have New York City, and you have LA. Chicago's not really known for the fighting, but like obviously it's Chicago, that's big. And then it's probably Texas, Florida.
Yeah.
Boston gets a little bit of love, different other spots, but that's one of they have to go to Texas.
Well, and like when I say the LFA's down there, like how many like fighters come out of Texas? Like there's a ton of feeder organizations. There's a ton of fighters that live in Texas. The same way there's a ton of fighters that live in Florida.
And that wasn't always the case. Like Texas is a blooming, like blossoming area. That wasn't the case. Like Texas was one thing about Texas, why it was never a powerhouse in MMA is for such a big state, it is not really known for their wrestling. Like Oklahoma is known for wrestling. Texas is.
I think you and I were talking about this last time we spoke regarding like random states that have like really good, very high level like super high wrestling programs, like Wyoming and stuff like that. But
Wyoming has one school. It's the Wyoming Seminary. There's other ones, but that's like it's not the state of Wyoming.
Texas has like one of the most populated cities in our country, and they just don't have like a high level wrestling program. It's weird. Yeah. It's definitely weird. Like what? Yeah. But they're turning out good fighters.
Yeah. Skynet saying Northeast is great, so they have wrestling. It's not the Northeast. It's like the Midwest.
Yeah. Midwest is where the best wrestlers come from.
Yeah. Other than New York and New Jersey, upstate New York and New Jersey. But like when you say Northeast, I always think of New England. So I guess upstate New York. I guess some people would consider that's Northeast. I guess in New Jersey, but it's like the North and the true North in Game of Thrones that you don't know about.
Okay, I'll start watching.
All right, let's move on. We got 9 more fights to cover. We'll cover the co-main event pretty good, and the other ones we're gonna have to breeze through. Holly Holm, I'm gonna really piss off someone at the end of the segment with Holly Holm, but Holly Holm took on Yana. Used to be last name Kuniskaya. She married Thiago Santos. Now married Santos. Just coming back from being a mother. For about 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, it was a competitive fight. And then Holly Holm whooped Yana Santos's ass and looked, not the best performance for credit, not that, but it was one of those like, oh shit, Holly Holm still got it.
It's that mixed with like, God, I'm gonna sound like a hater, but like Yana Santos looked absolutely terrible, and that is funny. That's a very funny comment.
That's good. That was good. It's true. It's true.
Yeah, it's like, Keith's just here to dunk on Texas. Good food, great food in Texas. But Yana looked really bad, man. Like she had no range striking. She was just throwing random offense, crossing her feet, marching forward with her head up. I mean, like Holly Holm should have probably finished her like 7 times in this fight.
You know what I think happened? I think so. They trained with each other a lot, and they were former teammates, and they obviously know each other. I think she knew that she didn't want a striking battle with Holly Holm. She did not want to striking, so she was very desperate to close the distance. She probably had moments. She's like, if I get in top, that's where I beat Holly Holm because in this jujitsu class or this wrestling class,
Sure.
like she knew it was so obvious she wanted to get to the bar. Holly Holm made an adjustment halfway through where she started using the Santos's pressure against her. It was perfect. Like she started timing her with her left hand. Her straight left couldn't miss. Then she was also throwing those teep kicks, the front kicks up the middle. She does that. Of course, she does that Holly Holm side kick. She started using the pressure to drop on her hips, take her down, and say what you want about Holly Holm. Like obviously she's a decorated, like one of the greatest boxers in female, boxing history. She's a decorated kickboxer, all this stuff. She is a extremely underrated grappler. I've been saying it for a while now, and just look what she did tonight. She's got better entries than 90% of female fighters.
Especially in that division. Like who else? And I was saying this on the previous show that like she reminds me of like one of those just crazy CrossFit type athletes that just like could hit out like 100 pull-ups, do 200 push-ups. Like that's what Holly's frame and body looks like. She looked clearly stronger. Her body lock takedowns. I mean, it's kind of was resembling to the Megan Anderson fight where like a girl that may be a little bit bigger, that may have some physicality, like Holly just bodied Yana. Like I don't know another way to describe it. Like she just fucking bodied her.
I thought she looked spectacular. I gave her a 10-8 round. In I think it was the second round. I scored a 30-26 for her. Like I was that impressed by her. I think Yana couldn't. I'm a little higher on Yana Santos than you are, but I think it's a really good quality win. The top pressure of Holly Holm was super impressive. She almost got her first submission. She is in the submission first. But I guess that's the one knock you can get on her. I guess the one knock you can get on like just think about this for a second. And I know this is oranges and apples. Like I understand this is a fair trade, but imagine if a top boxer in men's boxing came over to MMA and was as successful as Holly Holm is. And again, I understand men's MMA,
Sure,
the level of wrestling, the level of like I understand it's easier to come in with female MMA so that they don't have stronger base of wrestling. They don't have a strong base. Like I understand that. But just go with me for a second. Like I understand it's not the perfect comparison, but go with me. But imagine if Bernard Hopkins came over to MMA and was as successful as Holly Holm or
Lomachenko. Like imagine if Lomachenko
or Floyd Mayweather or whoever. One of these top boxers came over and won a UFC title. Didn't never re-won it, but was competitive for I don't know how long has she been in the UFC now? 7 years, something like that. It's a while, been a long time.
Yeah.
I don't think, and she did this on the second half of her like career, her athletic career. She didn't do this in her 20s. She did this in her 30s.
Yeah,
which is even more impressive.
And you know what I was thinking, what I've been thinking watching Holly Holm fight for the last, maybe probably like the last 2.5, 3 years. Imagine if she got with a better camp outside of Greg Jackson. Like, imagine if she went to I
don't believe it. I think it's a good camp.
It's a good camp, but like
where would she be better if she went to?
I feel like there's camps that could just do her better. Like if she were to just go to like Sanford,
There's a lot of strong, like there's a lot of females that matters too. Like the amount of females that are in your gym, and it's different than men's. The amount of options you have. Maybe if she had but she gets a lot of one-on-one because
just her star
Winklejohn and everything.
And I am so surprised how big of a star she truly is. Like, it's me and you probably when they talk about the Ronda Rousey knockout, we probably roll our eyes, but man, she like the pop from the crowd, like Holly Holm still is a star. It was weird. I was so surprised by the pop that she got, how many people were excited to see her. Yeah, it was
All
strange.
right. So a couple things. I don't know if Skynet said wrestle with like go, aka wrestle. I don't know if I don't think the Muslims would wrestle with a woman.
Not to, they might not. Like they
not
really
to be
might
sexist
not.
or anything. Like their religion is very strict. I don't think they. I could be
not.
taught. I'll be honest. I could be talking on my ass, so I'll acknowledge I might be giving out misinformation, but I just don't think they do that. Okay.
I don't think I've seen a woman fighter come out of AKA, man.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong. As far as Jackson Wink has been extremely successful. Are they the top one they used to be? No, but it's like, it's like a college football player going to Notre Dame, and then people are like, oh, you should have went to Alabama. Like, he still went to Notre Dame. Like,
yeah.
It wasn't. It isn't what they used to be. It's still one of the best out there. Like Jackson Wink is still a good gym. Like, stop.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they were good 7 years ago, 8 years ago. I do think that there's just better camps out there.
Well, what happens is like people say, oh, it's a bad camp. Yeah, tell John Jones it's a bad camp. He did he regress at Jackson Wink? John Jones? No.
I actually think he did a little.
No, you don't remember when he went there. He went there coming from the bomb squad.
Yeah, well, yeah, from New York.
When he had
without
like,
yeah,
I think he went there for like the Stephan Bonner fight.
Yeah, I do think someone like and it's just like maybe American Top Team or like one of those gyms could have just tweaked a couple things, but regardless, like especially her at bantamweight in that division where her athleticism, power, all of her skills that she's built over the years, like Holly Holm is like she might fuck around and wait out Amanda Nunes and just be that champ again. Like she's totally good enough to do it.
So I got addressed in the chat. I know John Jones left Jackson Wink. I understand that.
Yeah.
He got kicked out of the team. And Greg Jackson still cornered him this last fight. Yeah, he did.
No, I know. It's just weird. Like he got kicked out.
Like we're talking about John Jones at 35 years old. Like we're going to ignore the 10 years he was with them and dominated and was the best fighter who ever lived. How about George St. Pierre? Like John Jones, George St. Pierre, Holly Holm, like they all went to Jackson Wink.
Yeah, they've produced
Diego Sanchez, Rashad Evans. Like, I mean, there's a whole. We can keep going on and on and on. Donald Cerrone was there for a while, and like, it's one of the greatest. I'm not saying it's the best now. It's still a very good team. Anyways, I'm not gonna go.
Ben Cooley.
Love you. I love you guys.
Ben's comment about why John left the gym. He was embraced by those guys down in Arizona with open arms. I don't know how I feel about that.
All right, so let's move on. All right, so I thought Holly Holm was incredible.
Yeah.
You mentioned how popular she was. Holly Holm, she has this thing like knocking out Ronda Rousey 7 years ago. That shine has never left her. Like people are still like super. Like she's a star. If you were ranking, everybody loves Holly Holm. Everybody. Who dislikes Holly Holm? Which is funny because sometimes she can be extremely boring, and she's still loved.
Oh my! She could fight that Ketlen Vieira fight 7 times in a row, and then all you got to do is just play that 15-second highlight of her knocking out Ronda Rousey, and all of that just goes away. It's the weird, like it's the weirdest thing because for me, I see Holly Holm. I'm like, well, thank God she wasn't the main event. But even if she was the main event tonight, she would have probably got a finish. But typically, guys like me or you, probably people in the chat, we see Holly Holm at this point, and we're just like, oh man. But I was just so surprised to see the pop, and that's probably also based on my personal biases, and just how I feel about that division, in general. But you can't not like Holly Holm. She's never said anything bad, never done anything bad. She's a good-looking woman.
Yeah.
And people just love her, the preacher's daughter. How could you hate someone called the preacher's daughter?
So I still remember I wish the UFC would do more of these. The promo. Remember the promo they did with her, Ronda Rousey, like the backstory where there's like a little girl like checking into judo school, and then she gets taught judo, and the teenage girl going to church with a black eye because she's training boxing. Like, do you remember that promo?
Yeah. It was great.
Yeah, it was one of the fantastic. There's like 3 or 4 of these. They've done these longer promos. I was really it always made the event seem bigger than just your regular pay-per-view. I'm gonna ask. Oh, let's do this. Santos is still a tough out for anybody. What would you do with Santos?
I was gonna. My match was Carol Hosa.
Okay. I went with Julia Vera. I feel like Vera she's got a good record. Time for her to step up competition. Okay.
I wasn't sure if she was fighting still.
Julia Vera. She's been out for a while. So, Holly Holm, I'm going to ask you first because mine is going to be a lot more controversial than yours. So, and we'll throw this out to the chat. What would you do with Holly Holm? Like, what would who would you match her with?
Me, I went with Juliana Pena. Winner fights for a title. But
okay.
And then I also went for I think Pena's a fight to make, man.
All right, so we're close. We're close. I know this is what I'm doing. Holly Holm has 5 fights left on her contract. She signed a 6-fight.
Just signed a new one,
which is crazy. So, all right. So Holly Holm she got 5 fights left. She's super popular. She's super popular. She'll never beat Amanda Nunes. You know what I do? On the UFC, I call up Amanda Nunes and I go, "Hey Amanda, you're inactive. You haven't been fighting. You're holding up 2 divisions. Pick one.
One division.
You're vacant. You're vacant. Wait. You're vacant in the belt in the other division. Pick which one you want to give up."
Yeah.
And then I'm giving Holly Holm a title fight in the other division. The one and it's Holly Holm versus, say it's 145. I'm tossing anybody. Josie Nunes. Holly Holm versus Josie Nunes for 145. Yeah. 135. Say Nunes like, nah, I don't want to cut weight. I'll say at 145. Okay, Holly Holm versus Irene Aldana, 135.
Yeah.
Again, this is me being Supreme King. No one can say no.
No, or a Pena, whoever. Like, and then if the UFC it'd be great if the UFC just picked up the phone and said, "Hey, Amanda, we want you to fight one more fight. We'll pay you X million dollars. You can make it at featherweight, but I want you to retire after this fight. We'll pay you enough money so you can go retire. You have a family, you're inactive, and then have her fight at 145. Anyone she wants. She can pick anyone she wants. Fight for the belt, dissolve the division. No reason.
But I don't want her to retire. I want to keep. I love Dominus. Like, I love watching Dominus. To me, it's like, it's like Joey Chestnut at the hot dog eating. Just like, if I went to a bar and they had like a little like local competition of people eating hot dogs, and they could eat like, what's the local one? Eat 12. Okay, cool. Like, I'd watch it for a second. Like, look at these disgusting slobs. Then all of a sudden you're like, hey, Joey Chestnut here. He's gonna eat 150 in the next 10 minutes. I'll be like, let me watch this shit.
Yeah.
So I still enjoy watching dominance. So I'm okay with watching Amanda Nunes beating the shit out of people. So I'm not telling her to retire. I just think you have a star in Holly Holm that you're not really getting everything you can from her.
Yeah.
So opening up a belt for her makes sense to me.
Especially against someone like Juliana Pena, which is like a super winnable fight for Holly. Like, out of anyone that would deserve a title shot versus Holly at this point that she hasn't either fought and lost to or fought and beat, like Juliana Pena would be a fight that Holly could win. She's, up there in the rankings. Like, just do it for the belt, and then Amanda can fight whoever she wants at 145. Amanda doesn't want to cut that weight anymore. She's at the point in her career, like, why? Like, if you're Amanda Nunes, like, why are you even cutting to bantamweight? For what?
If you match Holly Holm versus Juliana Pena, like, Holly Holm has to play the nice girl. Like, Juliana Pena can play the bad bitch a little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely.
She can do it.
Yeah, she was the bad bitch against Nunes both of their last fights.
Yeah.
She's happy to play. She's happy to play the bad guy.
Yeah, she likes it. She likes it.
And Holly, secretly, I think Holly could do both.
No, she can't be a bad
if
girl.
she wanted to. But yeah, she's a preacher's daughter. Like everybody,
No, Holly Holm is like, she is like Street. Like what's a character from Street Fighter? Like a girl character from Street Fighter. I don't know, but somebody knows. Like there's a girl in like a dress in Street Fighter, and she like hits and kicks. All right, she's that girl mixed with Hallmark Christmas movie. Like if the Hallmark, when the guy like car breaks down and he meets a girl at Christmas time, he teaches her the meaning of Christmas. That's Holly Holm.
It's a Lifetime movie.
But instead of like running like the dog shelter, she beats up people. That's Holly Holm.
I think she's probably the biggest star in women's bantamweight, and she might be the biggest star in women's MMA right now, which is super weird.
She's definitely the biggest star in yeah.
And she's top 3 in women's MMA. Like, who else is bigger than her right now?
No.
Like maybe someone like Zhang Weili with a giant nation of China behind her. Like, but
yeah,
pay-per-view wise,
we'd have to go through the division really look at it, but
Colby plus Holly on a card to make America great. Jesus. This is we can't afford to have Holly fight. She just signed a 5-fight deal, which is like pretty incredible for a 41-year-old. And like, she's not getting her shit kicked in. Like, she's not getting her ass kicked. She's not taking tons of damage. Like, over her career, like, even against Nunes.
She's won 3 out of her last 4 fights. And one fight she lost, a lot of people thought she should have won.
Yeah.
She could have won her last 4 fights.
Yeah.
Let's move on. We got 8 more fights we got to breeze through. Before that, we had Nate Landwehr taking on Austin Lingo, with Nate Landwehr winning the second round submission. To me, this just came down to pressure. Whoever was the one pressing forward was winning. The first round, Lingo was forcing Landwehr back on his back foot. Lingo was not pressing forward at all, which is not his game. He was in like a shooting gallery, and Lingo was just teeing off on him. And then finally, heading into like near the end of the first round, Landwehr is like, "Oh yeah, this is what I do. I'm the one who marches forward," and he starts having success. In the second round, he just did it, and he broke. He physically broke Lingo, but he more mentally broke Lingo.
I think clearly Lingo was like the more thudding puncher. Like there was one moment where he like changed angles, threw a shovel hook to the body, and then threw a right hand over the top, and like those shots clearly. I mean, someone that wasn't as just brazenly confident as Landwehr, might have been rattled, but like you're not, unless you put Landwehr out cold, like you're not rattling him. Like there's nothing that's going to make him take a backward step. And his offensive tools looked really good tonight. His footwork looked good. He looked really sharp. Like this might be like the sharpest he's looked. He was very calculated. He was very put together. It was not like the Onama fight at all.
I liked when in the second round when he was being first and third. Like he'd attack, he'd slide back out of range and then slide back in. So he was being first and third in all the exchanges. And that was just, and then he was taking ground every time, and the pressure just got to Lingo. Like when he took him down, Lingo quit. Like he mentally broke, and then it made it easy. And then he got the old sucker punch rear naked choke. That was fantastic. People are talking about this, Nate the Train and all this. I'll say this about him. I don't see a top in 145. I don't see a top guy. Like I don't see a guy who's going to break the top 10.
No,
but he is a good character. Like he's fun. Like he's got to be fun. His post fight stuff is funny.
He's like the white trash Patty Pimblett. Like it's great. Like it's. I love the train tattoo.
I like he's like flexing. He's telling people to check out his biceps. Like
what did he say? Something about Elvis. Someone could probably pull his.
Like Elvis charisma, and I'm so good looking and shit. Like he's
so good on the mic. He's when you put a mic in that guy's face after a win, it could be a robbery win that he wins, and he's gonna treat that like like a vicious Francis Ngannou style knockout. he's like reveling in it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I like the Patty Pimblett comparison because I feel like almost similar, not skill set, but like level of talent. Like they're about the same level of talent. I definitely they're both characters. Patty is definitely more like notorious, where he's going to have people who dislike him. Where I don't think there's going to be. There's always some idiot here or there, but mostly most people are going to like Nate Landwehr. So I just keep letting him fight in like these areas, Texas, Louisiana, down
Put him in the
south.
South. Put him in
Put
Florida.
him in Florida, you know, like not Miami, Florida, like Jacksonville.
Yeah, Orlando. Put him in Orlando. Put him in
Like
Jacksonville.
those areas.
Shit.
And don't give him a top 15 fighter. Give him guys that he's gonna beat, and just let him just do his thing. Let him win. Let him say something funny. In a like he. So Kyle Law, he says like Colby, Nate. So I went out with my wife last night and a group of our friends. So like there was 5 couples. We're all drunk. We're bowling, like a bunch of like early 40s, late 30s, early 40 people bowling. All right, but like Nate is like me when I bowl. I'm talking shit. But I'm talking shit in like a funny, friendly, like not Colby. Like Colby's talking shit where he's trying to get into the skin. He's like Nate's talking shit, but like it seems like friendly way. Like you like him. Like he's talking like
he's like the one guy that the one condescending guy like in a pickup basketball game. Like he's and the difference between them two also is like, if you don't think Colby's whole entire shtick is all fake, you don't get it.
Yeah.
Like if you don't, Nate is not fake. Like I really think that's Nate Landwehr.
Maybe like, I think it's a little bit of a stick too. Like I explain I was better than all my friends at bowling. Like for someone who doesn't bowl, I feel like I'm actually pretty good. So I started, you know how you walk up to like the line and you bowl. I started getting like real shitty with them. I was beating them so bad. So I started bowl. Like when I say I was talking shit. I said, where you sit down, like there's like the score, you punch your score in and shit. I started bowling from back there. Like I didn't walk up to the line. I said bowling strikes from way. Like I added like 50 extra feet to my bowl. Just talking shit.
Like, that's hilarious.
I went up one time blindfolded, like just but like it's my friends. It's my like I want to do that with like random strangers.
Sure.
But these are my guys.
Everyone's Nate's friend though, right?
Yeah, like so that's how Nate is. It's like I feel like I like him. Like I could bowl with that guy and he could be killing me and I'd find his. So I have a friend Felipe. He's the same way. Like Felipe he comes over, watch the fights when we get to like the big ones. He doesn't shut up the whole time. Like he's the casual of casual fans, but when he picks a fight right, he just like
Yeah.
Yeah,
he lets you know.
He watches a fight and he's like, "Oh, this guy's gonna knock him out." Like, I know this. And then like the guy wins a split decision and he's like, "Bitch, I told you, you don't know shit, Mr. Sherdog." Like, you picked this guy, like that's him. But it's like, it's Felipe. Like, that's how I feel about Nate. Like, I'd hang out with Nate.
Yeah, like I don't drink and I'd buy him a beer.
Yeah. You don't drink?
No.
I drink enough for both of us last night.
He and just like you said, his game is he's a very damage-taking game. He does have a very diverse offensive game. Like I was telling this to my fiance too while he was fighting. I was like, you hear him speaking, but something that people also should realize is that he comes from M1 Global. So like he never probably had those moments in Russia because nobody knew what the hell he was saying. So now that you're giving this guy mic time where people can understand him, I feel like he's really also grasped a hold of that where he's like, I'm really taking these moments and running with it. And
so
a guy like Nate shouldn't be winning fights like this. Like,
so don't ruin it. Don't match him against someone who's going to beat him.
Yeah,
just like keep going with it until it runs its course. Like you'd know when it runs its course. Like everybody at some point, like the Tuivasa, like Shuey thing runs its course. The Derek Lewis, like saying funny thing, like has run its course a little bit. Like you'll get to the point where he gets too old, and then okay, now we'll put him against the top 15 guy and he goes. Speaking of top 15, before that, Macy Barber took on Andrea Lee. Scorecards all over the table. I'm going to say something that's going to be controversial. I've seen a lot of people upset with the scorecards. I think you could have scored this fight any score possible. Yeah. It could have been 30-27 Macy Barber. Could be 29-28 Macy Barber. Could be 30-27 Andrew Lee. Could be 29-28 Andrew Lee. I thought all 3 rounds were toss-ups.
You know what, though? Like, the problem with this is, number one, like, I mean, not a lot of people like Andrea Lee just based off her choice of significant others, whatever. But, like, there seems to be a lot of...
Okay.
But I also feel like a lot of people don't like Macy Barber very much either. And for her to continuously have these type of fights that, like the Miranda Maverick fight, for example, and then now this fight here, where Macy Barber left with the W, and I was actually, there was a minute left, and I was matchmaking her like she lost this fight because I thought she lost the fight. But I don't. Girl goes.
Yeah, I'm gonna do this right now. Can we do this? We're gonna pause this for a second. I'm doing it right now. To my listener of the night already, I'm putting 30 C West. You're my listener of the night. I'm going already. Just in case he or she bounces out of here later. I want that person to at least hear. I already wrote his name down as my he or she. I'm sorry.
That might be the best comment that I've seen.
It's a good one. He's been on fire all night. So
that was
my listener. Great. Well, you guys got to stick around to see who Dev picks later on. But
wow,
yeah, 30. All right, carry on with your thought.
That was
you were
really
talking
good.
about how she's had 2 wins in a row where she's got the wins, but
we're
been close and
it's tough when you make the brash statements that someone like Macy Barber has made, like I'm going to be the youngest champion, blah blah blah, and she does seem to have developed some, part of the fan base that doesn't favor her very much. So winning these 2 fights, like, the Miranda Maverick fight, and then now this one, did you walk away feeling higher about Macy Barber after this win?
I'll say this. I want to talk about personalities in MMA. Not everybody can have the same personality.
Sure.
Not everybody can be Colby Covington. Not everybody can be but to have different ones, her being the supreme confident young, I'm so glad we have these personalities. And I hate that people hate on these people. And I'm not saying you're doing this. I'm saying like this is just a huge segment of Twitter just roots against her. Sean O'Malley, huge part of Twitter. Patty Pim, all these people. My favorite sport is MMA. My second, very close behind, is NCAA wrestling. Those are my 2 favorite sports. All right. The most boring thing in the world, I'd rather watch paint dry than watch post-wrestling interviews. Do you know why? Because everybody says the same thing. You'll have 10 national championships. All 10 are going to say the same thing. I want to thank Jesus. And I'm a religious person, so it's not an anti-Jesus thing. I want to thank Jesus. I want to thank my parents. I want to thank my coaches, my teammates, and hard work pays off. Like, just go on the check with those 5 things. Jesus, parents, coaches, teammates, hard work. They're going to say those 5 things in every interview.
It's like pre-recorded. It's like they're reading it off a teleprompter.
But there's I feel like there's people in MMA that they want people like this. You want that? Do you want all our interviews to be like that?
I don't dislike Macy Barber, and I
don't either.
I don't really care what people say as an MMA fighter, whether you're playing a shtick, whether you're being who you are, or anything in between. Like, out of anyone that you can think of, obviously Colby will probably be the first person that comes to mind that has said the most edgy stuff, especially after this past week. But still, I know that none of it's real. And for Macy Barber to think that she's going to be the youngest champ in the world, if you don't think that, then you probably shouldn't be fighting anyway.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're absolutely right.
Have if you're not confident, if you don't think you're going to be a world champion, then the UFC is probably not the place for you.
Yeah. So to answer West Coast, he said, "What's wrong with all the wrestlers saying that?" No, there's nothing wrong with it. But you know what it is? It's boring.
Yeah.
But we need one person saying that, which is our Harley Holm. We have Harley Holm. We have Sage
daughter.
We have Sage, but we have those 2 or 3 people that are super friendly, never say anything bad about anybody. Stephen Thompson.
Yeah.
Stephen Thompson can be the Christian guy. He's a very open Christian. He can be the born again Ned Flanders type Christian. Okay. Give me another Simpsons character. Give me somebody else. I can't have the same Simpsons character for every character.
And it's not Macy's fault that the fights get scored the way they do. Her job is to show up and fight, win, lose, or draw, and that's what both of these girls did. I do think Macy lost this fight, but I was a little bit disappointed to see her anti-wrestling kind of not being too existent. She is definitely punishing and she doesn't really fear much. This was a really weird fight where she kind of reverted back to her throwing kicks and strikes not being in range at all. There was a moment in the second round where she hurt Andrea Lee, but then got taken down. And what caused her to lose the second round was there was a moment where she was on her back trying to throw up kicks, and Andrea Lee was kind of waiting for her to get back up, and then was like, well, you spent 50 seconds on your back here. I'm just going to go re-engage in the ground and clearly win this round here.
So I never asked you, how did you score the fight?
I scored the fight. I scored a 29-28 for Andrea Lee.
But what round did you give her?
I gave her round 1 and I gave her round 2. And Barber probably had her best moment in round 2 where she kind of had Andrea Lee backpedaling and hurt her a little bit. But half of me agrees with the current MMA scoring criteria, but I do think grappling should weigh a little bit more. Like, if two people are fighting and one person, like,
if you hold someone down for a long period of time, you are being an effective grappler.
There's a reason
your offensive grappling or your grappling is keeping them on the defense so they can't do what they want. I agree.
And here's the thing, like when you arrest people, Keith, like I'm sure you've arrested someone before, you take them to the ground, you put your knee on their back and you put their arms behind their back and you put them in handcuffs. Like that's what, like, I mean,
just for the record, on the back, not on the neck.
Yeah. But like, no, but
don't get me fired.
No, but that is like, you are holding someone down. When you're holding someone down, they can't hurt you. That's why you see people getting taken down. People, like, you're just not effectively offensive off of your back. And I do think that, like, negating damage and taking someone down and controlling them should mean a little bit more in MMA today.
So I'll
be part of it.
I'll tell you, I scored it 29-20 for Barber.
Okay.
And it's funny, and that's why I said I thought every round was close. You said you thought Barber's best round was second. That's the one round I scored for Lee.
Yeah.
So I gave Barber the third and the first. The first one was tough to score, but Andrea Lee didn't do much. She really only there was pretty even on the feet, and then Lee had the takedown. But the significant moment of it was when her arm was trapped in this weird, I've never seen before, position. And then it was Barber landing hard elbows, like good hard elbows. And I thought that was the best round. I mean, like the best moment of the round. And so I gave that round to Barber and I gave that third round. I'll say this. So I want to talk about Andrea Lee for a second. Andrea Lee reminds me of, all right, so in Sherdog, we do these weekly top 10 voting, and it's averaged together. So I can openly say, like, I don't agree with every pick, and the Sherdog top 10 is not my top 10. It's one of my opinion mixed in with other people's. So we did the top 10 best strikers, and a lot of people put Alistair Overeem as a top 10 striker, and I completely disagree. And I feel like Andrea Lee reminds me a lot of Alistair Overeem. What I mean by that is looks like a striker, built like a striker, both of them, Overeem and Lee, credentialed for their striking, but are way better wrestlers. They're good wrestlers and grapplers. That's
top side, especially top side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they both also get eaten up when they're on their back.
Okay. That's how I feel about both of them. So that's right. Now, as far as Barber, I think there was good moments and bad moments in the fight. Like you asked me if I feel better or worse. I actually think I do feel better because I think Andrea Lee's a tough test for anybody. I think Andrea Lee's a little underrated. I think if you beat Andrea Lee, you're good. Or I feel like this is what I'll tell you about the good. The good thing is she fights with a lot of pressure. She can sustain that pressure for 15 minutes. Like she doesn't slow down. I think she's got good pocket boxing when she gets in the pocket. She had a lot of success against Andrea Lee from the pocket. I think she has power. She hurt Angela multiple times in the fight, second round and third round. And she's only 24. I was remind people she's 24 years old. So she's still like growing into her body. Like she's not even in her prime yet. So that's good. Bad. One is her takedown defense. Two is her ability to get off and bottom. But a big reason why she was getting taken down so easily is the way she was attacking Angela. She didn't change up her rhythm at all. So it was very easy for Angela to time her and just use very similar to what Holly Holm did to Yana Santos, where she just used the pressure into takedowns. Yeah. And that's what happened in this one. And so that's something she really needs to fix up, which is kind of ironic for someone to be with Team Alpha Male, who's a strong wrestling team
with a major deficiency.
But you know what can happen, and I want to put it up. Sometimes when you're around wrestlers and you're just getting taken down, I always hear the people like, "Oh, hey, you should wrestle with people better than you." That is true for portions of practice. You need to get with people equal to you too,
that you can have success against.
So you have success, you can develop things. If you're always getting taken down easily, you stop fighting those things. You don't slam on the wizard as hard as you should, or you don't hip in as much because you're getting taken down anyways. So you're not developing those positions where you can stop a takedown. So you're learning balance better. You're learning. So like she might be better off in a different team. It's crazy that sound for someone who needs to improve her wrestling. Alpha Male might not be the right team for her.
A big problem she was having too is when she throws her pressuring, when she gets on the front foot, she switches her feet throwing combinations. And that's where she was getting timed. Like the second she would switch her feet to try to pressure forward after like in the middle of a combination, that's where she would get taken down. And that's just something that's got to get cleaned up, where you need to be able to have good forward pressure, still be able to defend takedowns. And her get-up game was pretty weak here. She was effective off of her back in the first round, where she did trap her arm and land those elbows. Like that was pretty nifty, but almost two moments like that where she that probably helped grow her confidence. Like, hey, I'm having success off my back. But then at the same time, like, you can't replicate that. You just need to treat like the floor is lava. Like if that's going to be your guard game.
Oh yeah. She was spending way too much time. She was doing like things. She was wasting energy. I want to build off what Kyle said, talking about the way she's built. She is built weird. And I always feel a little weird talking about, we can get like silly here, but we try to be somewhat professional. She's got a big base. Like she's got a big ass. She's got big legs, which can be really good for wrestling.
Norma Dumont type.
Well, you're wide based. You can use your hips well. She just has to learn. Like I think the best thing for Macy Barber would be when she was working with Ben Askren.
Yeah,
like I wouldn't hate that again. Or getting in a wrestling room and actually wrestling. Not MMA wrestling, but actually wrestling with wrestlers. And
Skynet. She's built like Devin Clark. No, that's gonna not that much, but
Devin Clark's gonna get ass.
But like you said that, not me. She also too like maybe develop like an uppercut back foot game. Like maybe throw some knees, maybe develop.
Knees should be part. Like she should be going to Muay Thai plum clinches a lot more too. She has a mean
nasty
streak.
In the clinch.
She has a mean streak, which I still like Macy Barber moving forward. I really do.
Well, and people that are mean like her, Muay Thai is a very mean striking style, like just getting in the clinch, getting nasty, throw knees. Like I would love to see her, maybe she should go to Thailand and go wrestle with the Hickman brothers and go strike with the Thai people. That would be probably
she needs
great.
to change something up.
Like,
what do you want to do next with her? Because she's still got to win. She beat the number 11 one in the UFC. I'm not sure. I got shit the other day, and shout out to the person who did do this. They're like, "Hey, Keith always talks about the Sherdog rankings, but he never knows where anybody's ranked in the shirt." So I forgot who said that, but I like when guys give me shit. That was a good point. I'm not exactly sure where Angela is on our rankings, but It's still a quality win. So what would you do in Macy moving forward?
There's a girl that I think is really good that's not getting the fights that are on her level, and might deserve like a step up. And even though Macy Barber won this fight, it was still a very, very close fight that, like you said, could have gone either way. I went with Natalia Silva.
Oh wow. Okay, I'm
Because
going.
Natalia Silva is really good.
She's good. She's very good.
And she might fuck around and beat Macy Barber.
Yeah, she might. I'm picking someone that might be that I think I'm picking someone that would be favored against Macy Barber, but I'm going way higher than that. I'm going Lauren Murphy. That's a really tough fight, but I also think it's a good stylistic matchup for Macy.
Yeah, if Macy Barber is such a bully, regardless, like she's not going to get deterred. Like you really have to hurt her to deter her off of her game. She was still pressuring forward even after losing all those grappling exchanges, and that means something.
I feel like Lauren Murphy is a good comparison for Macy Barber in styles. Like Lauren Murphy is a more polished Macy Barber,
but not.
She's Macy Barber if she was polished and more experienced.
I don't think Lauren Murphy is as punishing or as mean.
No, but to her, it's all about her physical tools. Like she beats people because she's more physical than them.
Lauren Murphy is probably someone that Macy Barber cannot bully.
No, well, I mean, I think she could, but that's the tough. That's the yeah.
I like it. And Lauren Murphy is getting older. She's not fighting for a title again. What's crazy is Natalia Silva. Natalia Silva could also beat both of those girls.
Oh yeah. I think Angelique's good, but I want to use her as a name, kind of like a test for a rising person. So I book her against Tracy Cortez.
I like it. I was headed in that direction, but then I remembered she was just posting on her social media about coming out of a surgery. So I don't know. Do you know what type of surgery she had? She pulled out of her last fight and she didn't disclose. She said it was a personal reason.
Yeah.
And then she had a surgery. I wonder if it's some sort of.
I forgot who she was with the fight. It was a tough matchup. Oh, it was against Amanda Hebos, wasn't it? Her and Hebos. It was like the day of the fight, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lee's fought so many people. Like
I think her and Brian Ortega broke up too. I think.
Yeah, they did. I'm about 90% sure there too, man. Just because I think they said something. Thought I saw something somewhere, and the social media posts have definitely declined. I was matchmaking Lee like she won this fight, and I was matchmaking her against someone like Hebos.
Oh, he was not. I feel like he was already past that. I think Hebos has a fight booked.
I thought so too.
Does she? No. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe sometimes when I talk about booking, I talk about the fights that we mentioned weeks ago. It's like I said, oh, put her against this one, and it's like booked in my head.
There's so many fights that get made and get broken up. Are we going to talk about the fight that got dissolved? I think we should.
No, we'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. We got to cover some. Amanda Hebos is not booked right now.
Okay.
Real quick, before we move on, this one I want to do this really, really quick, less than 3 minutes. Donald Cowboy Cerrone was announced UFC Hall of Fame. I saw people debating whether he should be Hall of Fame. This is
come on.
I'm gonna say this. I don't look at the UFC Hall of Fame like Baseball Hall of Fame, Football Hall of Fame, even though those have, especially the Baseball Hall of Fame, has really been diluted down. It's not what it used to be. I look at it more like the WWE Hall of Fame, where eventually, like, you've been in the organization long enough, everybody gets in. Like freaking Coco Beware is in like the WWE Hall of Fame. Like everybody gets in. So I'm not arguing merit and he should have won this championship. So I don't care.
Dude, it's Cowboy. If you don't think Cowboy should be in the Hall of Fame, come on. Right?
It just comes down to like, I mean, Maurice, you've already set a standard that's very low. Like Maurice Smith is in the Hall of Fame because of one fight. You know what I mean? Like, so anyways, just talk to me about Cowboy. When you think it 15 years from now, little Dev goes fishing's asking you, Daddy, tell me about Cowboy Cerrone. What do you tell him?
He's just the gunslinger. Like that's what I think of. Like that's the first word that comes to my mind. And win some, lose some. But if you look, and credit to Bisping, I thought he was off last week in the UK, but he was pretty spot on. He pulled out his phone and he started reading off Wikipedia, impromptu, started reading off all the names that Cowboys
Yeah,
fought.
and shame on him for not going to Sherdog, but go.
There was one really funny moment where Cowboy had his two kids and Alexander Hernandez is behind him.
Yeah.
That was gold. Like shout out to the UFC for that. That was awesome.
And I don't think Bisping mentioned his name.
Yeah, right. But like the dude's just fought everyone, and it's Cowboy. Everyone loves Cowboy, and it's just like you said. If you don't have to be a world champion to get into the UFC, to the UFC's Hall of Fame. And if you think about accolades and abilities, like yes, we have guys like DC, we have guys like Habib in there,
of course, yeah.
But we also have guys like Cub Swanson and Diego Sanchez, and that's kind of where Cowboy is for me. Cowboy's an OG, man. Like,
oh yeah,
like he's just, and it's not about your achievements, but like what have you done for the sport? Think about the fan base that he's brought in. Think about him coming from the WEC. Like, he's just a gangster, dude.
You know what he is to me, and I'm going to go back to WWE just because we were talking about WWE and that got my mind. He's like your Mankind.
Yeah.
Like where he was never the best wrestler, but because he was like willing to throw himself through tables and do all the shit that other people would do, that he got so much respect from the fans.
Yep.
And no, he got that moment. And of course, MMA isn't WWE where you can script the moment. So like Donald Cerrone never had that. It's a shame that he never got to hold a UFC title, as a champion. He never got that moment. Like other guys later did, like Bisping did, like Glover Teixeira did. Like that's the one thing I'm missing. But he was loved, like Mankind was, by all WWE fans.
Yeah.
He was loved by all MMA fans because the character that he was, this adrenaline junkie who fan favorite, who was always willing to fight at short notice, different weight classes. He was a good, not great fighter. He was very good, but that's okay. Like, not everyone's going to be Kamaru Usman or Charles Oliveira or like top guys. That's going to happen. And then he has that, like, when people say, like, real fighter, like, I hate when people call people the real fighter. Like, I hate when people say that, oh, this is a real fighter. Like, every guy who fights MMA is real fighters. They're the baddest 1% of the world. But of those people who think that way, Donald Cerrone is the example.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? Like, if you guys, like, there's an interview with Cowboy and Joe Rogan, and he tells Joe Rogan a story about when he went cave diving.
Yeah,
and
that's crazy.
almost fucking died in a cave. And I'm a certified diver. I grew up in South Florida. I'm a fisherman. You can obviously I've dove before, and like I've been to some deep water wrecks. I've dove some pretty cool shit. Cave diving, like I've been to some natural springs. I've seen some underwater caves. You swim down 15 feet. To cave dive, it takes a different set of balls. Like that's different than fighting. And he tells the story about him cave diving, him and his buddy almost dying, his buddy freaking out, kicking up all the silt. They didn't know what was up, what was down. There, it was a really hectic moment. And he's the guy that's seen some shit. He's had that stomach repair surgery after accidents. Like he just is he is just an OG. Like there's just adrenaline junkie fighter, like everything. He encompasses fighting. Like when you close your eyes and you think of a fighter, a guy like Cowboy Cerrone is what pops up.
Yeah, he also, that cage. I heard this story too. It's
fucking nuts.
It's crazy.
It's scary.
It's one of those ones. He's telling the story. He lives because he's telling the story, and you still like at the edge of your seat, like holy crap.
You're sweating.
Yeah,
you will sweat listening to that story.
Yeah. He was also the like people who say, oh, he didn't win a UFC title, this and that, whatever. You know what? If he was 10 years older, he would have won a UFC title. And he would have been a legend. He would have been like Jens Pulver is also going into the UFC this year. and most people argue that he should have went in. If Jens Pulver and Donald Cerrone was in the same era, Donald Cerrone is beating Jens Pulver.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And there's a couple guys where and there's a couple guys like Khabib. I think Khabib would have just beaten every 155er that's ever existed, probably.
Yeah,
but
of course.
That's once in a world, once in a lifetime talent. Just like you said, if you drop Cowboy back a few years, like a half a generation, and he still had big fights, fought guys that came to be world champions, fought ex-world champions, fought dudes that fought for titles. If we were to really look at his record and look at people who were in the title picture, whether it was WEC, people that he fought that were champions or fought for belts, his career, he is a motherfucker. He has fought everyone.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy this week. He was talking about winning streaks, and I'm like, not all winning streaks are the same. That's just so like people say, oh, his record's I don't know what it is, but it's 28-13. It's yeah, but it's a different 28-13 or whatever, the UFC record. It's it's different. It's not all
record like RDA.
Yeah, in the last decade or 7 years or something like that, what was his easiest fight? Yancy Medeiros.
Alexander Hernandez.
Alex Hernandez, who was looked at as the next big thing coming up.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I said 3 minutes. We went freaking 13 or something like that. Anyways, let's move on. Chidi and Jukiwani took on Albert Duraev. We're gonna save time right here. Ben has really been digging into the narrative of overcoming Chidi and Jukiwani kind of thing. Being the Bellator guy. This to me was Bellator, Chidi and Jukiwani.
Him getting finished by Rodriguez, I think that took every bit of forward motion that he made in his career with confidence and everything like that. That last loss against Robocop really seemed to make him revert back. He was scared of Duraev's wrestling, and the Joaquin Buckley fight showed that you should not be that scared of Albert Duraev.
His refusal to throw punches is why he lost. The only thing I'll say about this, it was very close. To me, Duraev, if this was Pride one championship scoring, Duraev clearly wins. There's no debate.
Yeah. Just based off the first round.
10-8 scoring the second and third round. There wasn't much action. It really comes down to, you could argue that Chidi won the second and third round. The point is he kind of left it out there, and that's what happened. I checked the MMA decisions. It was 8-7 for Duraev on MMA decision. So it's as close as it comes. Duraev hit a beautiful inside trip, though. I want to say that when he had the double underhooks, he did this he pulled him into him to create that space, and then he pulled and stepped at the same time. It was beautiful. I'm ready to move on. To answer RC Kim's question, is Tony Ferguson Hall of Famer? I'm assuming saying that will he make the Hall of Fame? Everybody's going to make the Hall of Fame. That's my answer. Coco Beware. Just imagine Coco Beware. Someone being listen, these MMA fans. Listen, what the fuck? What did I do? This guy keeps coming at me.
At some point, maybe in 10 years from now, we'll get these fighters that go into the Hall of Fame, and they won't think it's as big of a deal as it is. But right now, today, it's still a big deal. Last week, it was Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
Anderson freaking Silva.
Yeah, but that happens. There's years, there's going to be a year with, in football, 5 years from now, Tom Brady's going to go in the Hall of Fame. And some guy who's in his 15th time up is going to get in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And you got to have Tom Brady going in with a guy was a 4-time, Tom Brady's going to have more Super Bowl championships than this guy has Pro Bowls. It's going to happen. Yeah. Anyways, I gave you shit for getting the main event wrong. I'm going to take some lumps on this one. Daniel Pineda took on Tuckalutz. I thought Tuckalutz was going to run through Daniel Pineda, and I was wrong.
This was awesome.
Daniel Pineda won by second round submission. I thought Lutz looked slow. I thought he looked very stiff on the feet. He wasn't. Shout out. One of the best things I think the UFC has done is add Dean Thomas as like coming in and just kind of giving an idea from a cornerman. I think he's always really good at what he's talking about. He was talking about the reloading of Lutz, like throwing his punch out there but not reloading, and Pineda was going over the top. So I think that was really good. And Pineda, that's the thing about him. And if he gets your neck or something, he's gonna take it home. He's got 28 wins, 28 28 finishes, which is pretty impressive. Real quick, talk about this fight.
Pineda seemed a lot more durable. He was not getting flustered. Like against Feely looked really good against Pineda until that eye poke. Like that might be like the best Feely's ever looked, even though that decision went the way that fight went the way it did. But Pineda was just willing to stay in the pocket. Pineda just, even though he's a vet, he just kind of does everything better than Tucker Lutz, I guess. Like he fights better in the pocket. He hits harder. He's definitely a better wrestler, has better scrambling. Like Daniel Pineda just showed that he's a veteran of the game. If he, and Skynet says he might piss hot next weekend, this looked like a piss hot performance. If you,
he looked great.
Put this next to his PFL performances,
Yeah, he looked great. Before that, Steven Peterson took on Lucas Alexander. Excuse me. Steven Peterson retired after the loss. Was Almeida? Excuse me, I was calling him Almeida. Alexander won a unanimous decision. I couldn't believe the betting lines going into this, where Peterson was like a 2-1 favorite, and I was like, "What the hell?" I honestly thought it should have been the other way. Like I thought Alexander should be a huge favorite. Steven Peterson's like I don't want to say he sucks because that's just me. He's not good. He's slow. He's a weak wrestler. He's not even a brawler. He's just like he's durable. He can take a beating, but he doesn't do anything good offensively. I was shocked that he was such a favorite.
I thought he would just be able to make this fight dirty and make it a lot nastier than it was, but I was so impressed by Lucas Alexander. He might have put on the best performance of the card outside of like Sanhagen, where like he showed up as a big underdog, pretty big underdog, and he looked great. Like
he looked fantastic.
His kicks look great. His ability, the second Peterson would switch to orthodox, he would just, if it was for a 13th of a second, that leg was getting chopped right off. He forced Peterson right into southpaw, like right away. His punching looked crisp. His kicking game looked crisp. In the third round, where Peterson tried to force it, he hit him with that counter right hook, dropped him, hit him with a knee right after that, hurt him with the bad knee. And then they were also saying his hand was hurt. There was a couple moments where he was like shaking his hand out. He looked really good. He looked big. He looked long.
Yeah, he was freezing. He was freezing Peterson with just a little feint with his shoulders, just feinting him, just freezing him, and then like attacking him, and Peterson had no response. And then I really think if Alexander turned it up in the third round, he could have finished Peterson. Like Peterson was, he dropped him with a shot, and he just I feel like he put it like just cruised. Just if he turned up, he could have got a stoppage.
And he could speak English too. I was so surprised. I was so surprised to hear him speaking English in the post-fight interview. I was like, man, this kid looks great. He spoke English, and I just like you said, I think maybe he was more concerned about just getting his first win in the UFC instead of really churning it up. But at that point, you bagged 2 rounds, man. You just dropped this dude.
Yeah,
maybe he was injured.
Maybe. And Peterson retired after this fight. Actually does seem like it's a real retirement when he's talking about the speed of younger guys. He talked about some of the other things he has going on, coaching. He's supposedly opening up his own fight organization, stuff like that. So I'm glad he has things to fall back on.
Yeah.
Not going to spend too much time talking about Steve Peterson. Before that, Trevin Giles took on Preston Parsons. This was another really close fight. I checked MMA decisions. It was 7-7 across the board. I scored at 29-28 for Parsons. How did you score?
I would not have been mad at any, like either 29-28 one way or 29-28 the other way. I did score for Giles, and I do think it just was his jab won him this fight, and that's what I kind of said in the preview too. I was just like, I think Giles just put a jab on him. If he developed a back foot counter punching game, kind of like how Stipe like knocked out Werdum, where he could just plant and throw a straight right, because Parsons was just like crashing the pocket, and Giles should have done more to make him pay for that. If you can land your jab anytime this guy goes to crash the pocket, but there's nothing coming behind it, and all he has to do is eat the jab to get those, wrestling attacks off, it's going to pay the price. Like, this fight wasn't the fight that's going to lose him that fight, but someone else, and it almost did, quite frankly. He did kind of eat Parsons alive with his jab, though. His jab looked good tonight. He did get hurt one moment. There was like a striking exchange where Parsons clipped him. Giles is just such a weird guy. I could never get a read on him.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think what Giles should do, he should train with Vinicius Salvador. They should train each other. So Giles can teach Salvador how to throw straight punches, and then Salvador can teach Giles how to throw power punches. So they can kind of blend them together. And you have a decent striker. Now I had it for Parsons. What I thought the ending, Giles got the third round, was he spent like the last minute on top, but he didn't really do anything. And I'm like, yeah, but that's they always mention that. But like, yeah, that's cool. But the minute before that, he was on bottom, getting eaten ground and pound and getting a like head and arm triangle choke. But look, he was getting finished. But it is. I mean, it is what it is. Like, I'm not. I mean, it was 7-7 on Emmy's decision. So before that, one of the definitely the craziest moment. CJ Vergara took on Daniel Lacerda. Vergara with a come from behind victory, take it in the second round TKO. Just check this fight out if you haven't seen it. Insane comeback. Daniel Lacerda landed 3 times in the first round, spinning wheel kicks.
Yeah,
3 times in one round.
Clean.
CJ Vergara ran like a 5K as Lacerda was chasing him, trying to punch him, trying to get away. But I knew Vergara was going to win with about, I don't know, maybe it was a minute left in the first round, and Lacerda shot for a takedown when he had Vergara hurt. I go, yep, he's tired. And Vergara recovered, started picking him apart, got in some weird scrambles on the ground. Eventually, Lacerda he was done. There's no analysis. Like, it was a fun hell fight. I don't think either guy's that good.
No, De Silva, like, this was a tale of two fights. Like, one dude that like is a supreme athlete, but like no gas tank, and then the other dude just like a more rugged, grizzled style guy that is just kind of like very slow-footed but pretty durable. And this time, the guy that just kind of Vergara literally had to stick it out, like that. Like, him running around like, he ran more than Gus. Like, Gustafsson is known for that run around, and I mean, Vergara, just like you said, he did a 5K around the inside of the octagon. He was just getting hurt, and then he just ran. Like, you actually can't turn your back and run. Like, that fight could have potentially been stopped.
Like he should have like in between rounds, they should have like he should have, instead of having like the big like water bottle, they should just give him like one of those like half cups they give at the 5Ks, and eating an orange in between rounds. Like,
well, he's doing so much running, he needed like a camel back, the backpacks with the water thing. Dude. And just like you said, I mean, if you had a bet that said fight doesn't start the second round, like, you were probably punching air. And De Silva is just a guy that he's a front runner. I hate to say that about people, but like, that's the definition of what a front runner is.
Well, unfortunately, there's not many people that he can front run on in the UFC, because he's at the bottom of the barrel.
The second, how could you get any closer to winning a fight and still lose? I've never seen, like, have you ever seen a fight?
Ask Marlon Vera, because you know how close he was. I mean, he lost a split decision tonight, so he was close. And I just said that I don't like either one of these guys' skills, but CJ Vergara looks like freaking Alex Volkanovski compared to Vinicius Salvador and Victor Altamirano. The fight was fun, I'll say that, but it was ugly, not UFC level. It looked like two drunks fighting, especially the first round where they were just. Salvador does not know how to throw a straight punch. Like he doesn't even throw hooks. He throws like I don't even know. They're coming around the mountain. It's weird. It's not even like it's not a hook. It's like like not like a hook, like looping hook. Like
Oh, they're
Theodore.
not tight. Like they're not tight at all.
No,
Like
they're like
he's throwing like I mean, like it's coming from a different time zone.
you know what it look like? You ever watch Karate Kid 2?
Yes.
Do you remember when like in Karate Kid 1 they came up with this badass move that Daniel-san finishes what's the guy's name? Johnny with the freaking crane kick thing, and it's like badass. And then they tried doubling. They're like all right, we gotta have another cool move. And it was like, okay, how about he throws a punch? And when he throws a punch, his whole body goes one way. And then he goes back the other way. And I'm like, wait a minute. You're going over to Okinawa. This is supposed to be the baddest people ever. And the secret move is he throws a punch like Victor. No, sorry, like Vinicius Salvador. That's the you can't beat move. He goes to do the crane kick, doesn't work. Goes to do the Salvador move, and it freaking works. You know what it looks like? It looks like a kid. You're playing with your son. You're having a pillow fight, and they wing it all the way. They wing the pillow from super, and like you can move anytime you want. Like that's Salvatore's punches. Looks like a kid winging a pillow.
Like by the time he starts a punch, like I could go to my kitchen, make a sandwich, eat the sandwich, come back, and then it's like landing. It's like the Marge Simpson meme where he's throwing those fucking shots from like, I mean, and like every time he's done, it's like he's picking a quarter up off the ground because it's so overthrown too. It's like
so Altamirano could have got all his sponsors in like he did in the post fight before he freaking hit him with the punch.
Jesus.
And you know the funny thing is, Altamirano is so bad that if Salvatore just threw an uppercut or a knee, he probably wins. He probably
all of his like downward head movement. Like what the fuck was that? Like you could have just like teep kicked him in the head. If you were to just faint, he would have ducked down and you could have just teep kicked him right in his mouth. Like this was such a weird fight. And then
it was terrible.
Like Salvador's posturing, like, okay, we get it. You like Anderson Silva. You're from Brazil. But like you should probably cut that out. Like his posturing, calling him over to the cage. Like what was that? I love how he doesn't respect who he's fighting, how he is just willing to walk dudes down. I like that he punched the body, but I mean, like he needs more than to tighten up his shots. Like, like in the corner where they say, "Hey, man, you really need to tighten up your shots. I want you to throw a little bit more straight." No, like he needs a total like rebuild on punching mechanics.
Yeah,
he stands square. He stands square and just throws hooks with both hands. It's the most bizarre thing.
Yeah. So there you guys have it. We've covered all 10 fights. Let's get to the good stuff. I don't have the awards. I have 2 of the awards. I'm trying to see if I got tagged. A lot of times they tag me on Sherdog if Ben's not around.
You finding the awards is faster than a Vinicius Salvador punch.
Yes, landing a punch.
He throws a punch and people are going to the bathroom. They're coming back into their seat, and then like the punch lands. It's just so weird.
All right, I got the 2 performance bonuses. I don't know what the fight is. I'm assuming the fight is. I'm just gonna assume. I mean, it has to be Lacerda and Vergara. Like that has to be the fight of the night. I mean, they might have went main event or something like that, but it should be with the craziness that happened in that one. Shout out to the people in the chat if anybody has all the awards. I don't have the fight of the night. I do have 2 performance bonuses, but so tell me who, if you were giving out the money tonight, who would you give your performances to?
Even though the fight didn't end in a finish, I do think Sanhagen looked really, really good. Like I would give Sanhagen 50 G's for that. You fought up you fought up in the rankings. Yes, you were a small favorite to win, but he kind of just kicked Chito's ass a little bit here tonight. Like I thought that was pretty great. Fight of the night has got to go to De Silva, Lacerdo, and Vergara. That one was great. And then probably Landwehr. Landwehr should probably get a performance bonus with that post fight and that submission.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Pineda.
Yeah.
And then I guess Sanhagen. I mean, I usually would go with a stoppage, but you do that to I was thinking about Landwehr, I was thinking about Alexander, these all those guys dominated, but you do that to Marlon Vera for 25 minutes, I got to go Sanhagen. And then obviously I agree with the same fight that you said. Let's move on. Let's go to the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and the Bears are a stock market reference. When things are going good, it's a bull stock. When it's going bad, it is a bear stock. We do it 3, 2, 1. I'll let you kick it off. Do you want to kick off? We'll go positive. We'll go with the Bulls.
Oh,
and we'll throw it to the chat. If you guys want to throw yours up there, I'll read them up.
I wanted to go first with the Bears. Bulls on the night. Sanhagen, man, like you gotta give him, you gotta give him some love here. Looping back, like nobody's really done that to Chito, where they've just, especially on this recent run. Yeah, like Jose Aldo beat Chito, but it didn't look like this.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a great performance. Another one, Holly Holm. Like,
yeah,
Holly Holm showed out. Like, she just signed a 5-fight deal. She's 41 years old. She's probably the number one contender in that division because she always is. Definitely a bull on her. And then my number one bull, I didn't mention him in the post-fight bonuses, but Pineda, man, like biggest underdog on the card, goes out there, kind of gives this dude a drubbing, and then squeezes his head off. One thing I wanted to mention, there was a transition, like a grappling transition in that fight where he like transitioned from, he like jumped the guillotine, took his back, and then transitioned that into full mount. Like, it was such a slick moment. Like, it was awesome. Pineda's got to be the number one bull for me. Like, in his hometown in Texas, I do hope he did get 50 G's for this too.
Yeah, and shout out to James Scott. I never actually read what the UFC gave bonuses. It was the fight of the night that we all said. They also gave it to Pineda and Landwehr. So
I'm cool with that.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. Just throw some of these guys. I threw Allen's up there. His technical Wells Bulls, Corey, Nate, Pineda, Ben Cooley goes Sanhagen, Landwehr, and Alexander. I'll throw some up there who's stock win. I'll agree with everybody about Landwehr. Besides a fun fight, just get on the mic, absolutely wreck it. The moment on the mic matters just as much as your performance in like the fighting. I'm gonna throw, even though I scored the fight against him, his stock is rising at welterweight. Trevin Giles, like he's won 2 in a row. Again, not the best, but he's turned his career around where it seemed like he was all done. He's on a winning streak. I agree with Sanhagen and Holly Holm, so I'll leave him off. So I'll go another person again that a lot of people scored against her. I did score for her, but she's won 4 in a row in the division. She's only 24 years old. Maycee Barber's stock is continuing to rise back up. She's starting to turn some people into believers again. So I'll go with Maycee Barber as my top bull. We'll go to Bears. Now, these are the people who you don't want to be on the list. Technical Wealth mentions Bears, Santos, Lingo, and Chidi. Double O. He's going with Hulk Hogan, John Cena, and The Rock. Okay. Obviously, another guy's trolling him at the Dome. But I just thought that was kind of funny. Let's go. So Bears. This is the list you don't want to be on. I will go first. I'm gonna go Chidi and Njokuani. This is a guy like Ben was making this narrative of guy kind of not. Someone you didn't expect to have success in UFC. He started to have a lot of success, but now he's dropped 2 fights in a row. So his stock has plummeted recently. I'm gonna go my number 2. I'm gonna go Marlon Vera, and that's because he got dominated, but worse, not that he dominated. He got dominated in that division. Like the big narrative they kept saying is like, oh, Marlon Vera deserves a title shot, blah 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 blah. Oh, he's a guy who's willing to fight people before he gets to the title. Well, this is what happens. You don't get the title when you lose to a guy like Sanhagen. And my number 1 bear actually didn't even fight tonight, and that's Alex Perez. The guy has won 1 fight in 3 years. He's got 2 back-to-back losses, and in that, since he had that win 3 years ago, he's had 10 fights canceled. We don't know what happened today, but supposedly he was brought to the hospital. I don't know, but obviously this is a guy that was fighting for the title not that long ago, and now there's people calling for him to be cut from the UFC. So the number 1 bear tonight, Alex Perez. I hope everything's okay with him. So just I don't want to be a dickhead. Like, I hope everything's okay with him. But either way, his stock is not going well. You got some bears for me?
Just to touch on Alex Perez, like, this is actually pretty bad. It's especially, like, the UFC is kind of clearly wants Manal Kape to win fights, and a guy like Manal Kape that has missed weight at 125, that made weight this time, like, you can't just be a flyweight and turn around and fight again in 2 weeks. Like, that just doesn't happen. The guys that cut weight to flyweight, that's probably the hardest weight cut in the UFC. We had Ryan Spann just turn around and fight, and they fought up a weight class, or they fought up at 215. Like, you can't do that at 125. You add 15 pounds to that, and they're fighting 2 divisions up. This is going to really suck for Manal Kape, because it's like, this is worse than Ray Borg. Like, it's bad. I don't want to, let my Cutlass go so early, but he's on it. He's my number 1 bear, so I'll just give you 2 and 3. Lucas Alexander's little fur patch haircut, that was bad. Like, that's got to go on the Bears list. You lost the fight and you showed up with that haircut. Like,
the barber gives it to him,
dude, and
he's trying to hit the barber, but he can't, because he keeps throwing these big looping hooks at the barber.
No, the barber could give him a whole haircut before one of those punches land.
Oh, Lord.
Like, it just, that haircut was so God, was so bad. And then you gotta give judging tonight, just a bear, like, just Texas Athletic Commission doing their typical thing.
I don't think there was a bad decision today.
It's just, they're just so, it's just, and then
I mean, the Marlon Vera one was pretty bad, but
dude, like,
but that was extremely bad. But at least the right guy won.
It's always looming. Like, when you, like, there's a fight in Texas, that like weird feeling is always looming. It's in the air, where, like, it's like the night before Halloween. You're like, something weird just might happen, and we get that Chito 48-47 scorecard.
Shout out to my boy Craig Allen, who I used to do a podcast with back in the day every single week, and he has this like streak going where if a fight's a split decision, he's lost something like 12 in a row or something like that. I forget what I might be. I don't know how many it is, but he keeps losing. But it's kind of funny because he tracks it on Twitter, and he just keeps losing split decisions.
Well, and like, also too, like, Skynet says, like, Dan Miragliotta judging and reffing fights in the same night. Like, are you guys really running that thin? Where, like, can we get a guy to not have to do 2 jobs in one night?
I will tell you when we're done. I will tell you a Dan Miragliotta story real quick. I'm not doing it on air, but I'll tell you one off the air. Let's get to the cut list. The cut list is where we give the UFC permission to get rid of somebody, or I have 3. If both me and Dev have a person on both our lists, we give them UFC permission. If not, they can stick around. I have 3. How many do you have?
I have 2 people.
Okay, so I have 3. You already mentioned Alex Perez. I also had Alex Perez on mine, which is usually you give a guy who's been in a title fight somewhat recently some leeway, but 10 fights, and not all of them are his fault, but just the guy seems cursed. Time to move on. Is Daniel Lacerda your other one?
Da Silva, Lacerda. Which one is it,
whatever you want.
guys? You got two last names. You can't win a
UFC
fight.
calls him Lacerda. He's on Sherdog as I think it's one of these like
surnames or something.
Yeah, I think Lacerda's a nickname, but he goes by like Mirko Krokop and Mauricio Shogun kind of thing. I don't know.
He's on my list, regardless of what we can call him cut. That's what we can
call him. And the other guy, I threw him on this list, which you're not cutting him because he already retired tonight. But I was cutting Steven Peterson anyways.
Yeah.
So we'll let him retire. But one of those like, you're not fired, I quit. You're not kind of moves.
I want to add. I also want to say one more thing is, these fighters, like, I just want to go back to the Bears. All those fighters that made me tape study for them, like Vidal, you just made me spend so long trying to find tape on you to pull out last minute.
Oh, I've been there.
Shame on you.
I've been there a lot. When a fight gets, usually I write down all the fights and I kind of try to set an order and I try to tape study. And then I watch tape on it, and then the fight gets canceled. It's never one that I'm coming up to. It's always one that I already did.
Of course,
like,
man.
Come on, every time. Like, come
and
on.
It's always some obscure fighter that like you have to you just can't find tape on Vidal.
Oh, the worst thing is when you watch tape on somebody, you do all this stuff, they fall out, and then they get replaced by somebody else, and now you got to tape study that person real quick. Oh yeah. And then you had a half hour before you're about to tape, and then someone at you, hey, how'd you not know about his? You said you didn't see any grappling on him, but didn't you see his second amateur fight? He had this one. Like, oh yeah, sorry, my half hour notice. I didn't see that guy got a submission. Okay, cool. Anyways, let's go to the dude seriously. I don't even know how to describe this. This just goes for itself. I have a couple. Listen, taping over. I don't know if you caught this. Taping over your wedding video. Like, dude, seriously? Listen, I got married. All right, I'll give you. So this is bad husband I am. I got married. I've been married for 16 years, almost 17. This summer will be 17 years. And I don't think me and my wife, I don't know where our wedding video is. Like, I have no idea. Like, I don't know if we have it. If we watched it, it's been at least 16 years. But we have a wedding album, and I use the wedding album like twice a week. And by use, I'll give you up. This camera is facing me like a little normal because I prop up my computer on top of the wedding album every single week. So right underneath this computer right now is me and my wife's wedding album.
You know what's really funny is I am in my home office and I have my work computer right here to the left of me. My work computer's right here. I have a laptop riser. That's all fancy. My play around laptop is currently resting on a micro conversion kit box that turns a Glock pistol into a pistol chassis. So it's just some sort of it's a gun box. So we both have our computers propped up on strange things. Yours is better than mine.
Mine's on a wedding album.
Mine is, yeah, that is funny. At least you're putting it to use, man.
Yeah. All right. I'll do another dude seriously. Like, dude, seriously, like CJ Vergara. Like, times are going bad for people. They gotta remember your post-fight interview. Like, oh, when things are going bad, just remember
Calling for a main event.
No. He goes. He was talking about like, oh, when things are down, like, remember I came back in this fight. Like, wait, so like my life is sucking. I'm gonna think about CJ Vergara beating Daniel Lacerda, and that's gonna just, you know what? If he can beat Daniel Lacerda, I can get through this job I just got fired from. And then Steven Peterson doing the same thing about follow your dreams. You know what? Steven Peterson can do it.
I have $200,000 in medical debt, but that one time where CJ Vergara, I can get through this.
Like, dude, seriously, like these motivational speeches.
He called for a main event.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he called for a main event. That was part of my dude. Seriously, he literally called for a main event, which like I was audibly laughing, like I was cackling like a drunk chick.
I think I was so moved by his motivational speech that I didn't, and my last one, dude, seriously, Alba Duraev, A for effort on trying to speak English, but dude, seriously, you were in San Antonio, not Houston.
Oh yeah, he said shout out to Houston.
You're like, Houston, I love you.
It's Texas. He's just like, it's all Texas. Gosh, the crowd screaming USA, USA like 7 minutes prior to that too.
Oh
my gosh.
Dude, seriously. You have any dude seriously?
Taping over the wedding, was it his own wedding or was it like his mom and dad's? Because he had to be probably a kid at that point. CJ Vergara, like, just running to after getting hurt. I actually don't even know if that's intelligently defending yourself. Like, you're not supposed to turn your back to your opponent. Like, what? Like, I've never seen anyone run more. Like, he did 2 to 3 laps. Like, it was, just interesting. And then we really over embellished Vinicius Salvador's like square stance, like hooks from one planet to the next. But dude, seriously, like, you can't, you are doing things like Anderson Silva, but striking like Chris Lieben.
Yeah,
it's just like, why are we like his taunt? Like, his
no.
Silva
Hold on. By the way, Chris Lieben threw much tighter hooks. Like, it's way worse than Chris Lieben.
He might have the worst punching form in men's MMA.
Yeah, it's the worst ever.
It's hard.
There's no one. No, I've never seen anybody just throw like. I don't want to describe him as looping. Just it's the Karate Kid. Karate Kid 2 punches.
And the problem with him too is like, he typically, you want to keep your form really tight, snappy, but he actually like leans into it. Like, he's cocking back for the reload. Like, it's like, it's weird, man.
You know what it is? So that's how you're supposed to, like, if you ever do kayaking, they tell you to, like, turn all the way back.
Yeah.
He's doing the kayak punch. I don't know. Or Karate Kid. I like the Karate Kid part too. In Skynet's absolutely right. We don't have a VCR to play the tape anyway, so absolutely right.
Oh yeah. I didn't want to say what he said, but that was actually Holly's potentially like worst moment on the mic.
Oh no. He's talking about my wedding.
Oh.
My wedding tape.
I thought her Save the Children thing. She said, I agree with it.
Well, I'm agree with it too.
So I agree with it 100%.
There you go. Dev doesn't like children, so we got to.
Just weird. Like, it just kind of hit me out of left field. Where like I obviously I 1000% agree with that, but at the same time, it was just kind of like, that was interesting.
I know what she's talking about, and it's very controversial. So we'll leave it at that. But at least I think I know what she's talking about, and I agree with her. But not everybody would. We're not that kind of podcast. All right, so there you guys have it. We've covered everything. What was your grade for the entire card?
God, I'm gonna give it a C.
Yeah, I'm gonna go I'm gonna go a little high. I'm gonna go B-. I mean, the wackiness. The prelims were absolutely wacky. There's a lot of memorable moments, and like what Sanhagen did in the main event. To me, just that type of performance was so technically sound. It's fun to watch. So I'll go be like B-. I already named my listener 30C West a long time ago. Who's your listener of the event?
So so many people were in here cracking tonight, like Ben Cooley, Alan McDonald, Marcus Mustard. But I was liking what Skynet had to say. He's been around recently. I'm gonna give it to Skynet, but gosh, I can't remember his name. What was his name again with the Andrea Lee comment? The speed dating. You're muted again. Sorry.
It was 30C. Not just because that one comment. He had a whole bunch of good ones, but that was 30C West was my.
That was like, he came and sprayed the block with that, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. So there you guys have it. We have recapped all of UFC San Antonio. We actually have a week off, and guys, honestly, I need it. Like, I really need it. Not that I like this. I don't mind doing the recap. Does not take as much energy. The preview takes a lot of energy. So
it does.
As you would know, this week it does take a lot. So we have a week off. Ben will be back. We'll be previewing UFC 287, the return of Israel Adesanya going against his arch nemesis Alex Bahia, this time being the champion, defending against Israel Adesanya from Miami, Florida. So until then, so make sure you head over to Sherdog.com. Check out all the great content over there. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Do all the stuff that other podcasts beg you to do that me and Ben never do. Dev, you're the man. You did a double duty on the Shillan and Duffy show. The only guy to go preview and recap this week was not Ben or me. It was Dev Goes Fishing. So, Dev, you killed it, brother. Thank you so much again. See you next week, guys.
Thanks,
guys. 2 weeks. Sorry, excuse me, 2 weeks, guys.
Take care.